What if you could get someone to review any movie you want? Yes, today we have another batch of 5 movies I was forced to watch. Be sure to swing by my next scheduled live stream, which is when people throw their choices onto the wheel, and subscribe to support the channel. Here we go, 5 movies, starting with Slender Man, recommended by DN. 8% on Rotten Tomatoes. Ooh, mommy. After what might be the worst opening shot I've ever seen, I rapidly realized that Slender Man isn't bad because it's corny or unscary, although it is those things. The pipe to this movie's kneecaps is that from a technical perspective, it is so incredibly amateur. It keeps pointlessly playing with camera focus, shaky cam for no reason. The lighting is horrendous, which is something even weak horror films are usually okay at. A huge problem is the editing. Sometimes they'll cut to another character too early, so there's this weird pause before they answer a question. This is without mentioning how poor the dialogue is. How a film tells a story is just as important as the story itself. It wouldn't matter how complex or intriguing the Slender Man lore is, because the way the story is being brought, to me, is boring and sloppy. I mean, Jesus, some of the shot composition is just confusing. Speaking of confusing, Joey King. Oh, Joey King. You were so good in The Conjuring, and then we get this, Kissing Booth, Wish Upon, and the fucking brakes on Bullet Train. She is awful in Slender Man, but so are most of her co-stars. Honestly though, I don't put all the blame on them. The director didn't get more emotional highs out of them. The script's back and forth best friend dialogue is contrived, and as I've mentioned, the editing does them no favors. I don't think most people expected this to be good, but it could have at least been a little creepy. Unfortunately, this is like the most vanilla kind of horror movie to make, as if it's too scared to be scary. As for positives, there ain't much. There's a scene with a tree that's decent. Sadly, this sequence is followed up by an ending with some of the worst written voiceover narration I've ever heard. Like a PSA written by a guidance counselor on her smoke break. I wish Slender Man could have better explored creepypastas or the internet as a whole. It could have gone the tech horror route, like Cairo, mixing grainy internet videos with supernatural horror to immerse us in that virtual world. Or jump on the Red Rooms Express and focus on the dark web, urban legends, twisted fandoms, and online perversions that can tempt the impressionable or psychotic. Plenty of gold there to mine. What we got instead is a lazy pile of poop, whose good reviews always come with an asterisk. I don't see this even working for a younger audience. 20 minutes in, they'll be on their phones or playing Yahtzee with their genders or whatever kids these days do. I don't know. 2 out of 10?
Hey, come here.
What the hell was that?
Next is Shaolin Soccer, recommended by Alika Kelly. It's a comedy about Shaolin monks forming a soccer team, and God is this fun. It's the kind of movie that makes you laugh like an idiot. And I knew early on I would enjoy this when someone casually mentions the name of the opposing soccer team is Team Evil. Yes, Team Evil. I just lost it. There's plenty to criticize mainstream movies for, but I think the biggest failure is that mainstream comedies, with some exceptions, aren't that funny anymore. Shaolin Soccer is packed to the brim with jokes and imagination. It's hard not to just list moments that made me laugh. The way this woman walks is hilarious, as is the fact she's able to turn multiple directions mid-fall. When the monks reunite on a rooftop, all the shots emphasize the wind, which is the classic way to dramatize a moment. But here it's comical because it's like everyone specifically wore Ripley items like shitty bathrobes and bad hair. This is what I want to see in comedies, being playful, being creative. Shaolin Soccer also offers a nice variety of close-ups and tracking shots of the action. And in general, the cinematography is great. The film knows how to escalate, how to set up loose rules and then break them at the right pace. It's already funny to see these guys get fouled so brutally in their first game, but then it ramps up to a full-on World War II battle sequence. Will the audience get bored of seeing balls go into the net? Then let's kick players into the net instead. I have my gripes with the film. I watched the original version, which is about 20 minutes longer, and I have a feeling I may prefer the cut version. I don't know what was cut, but hopefully it was that Michael Jackson dance, because that was pointless. The beginning definitely feels stretched out. It takes too long for the soccer to start. Did we need the love interest at all? Maybe. Just for this moment, which actually looks better than the similar one from The Matrix. Also, as far as flaws, there's a track in the finale that is exactly like the one from Lion King. That is straight up theft. Still, every time I was bothered by something, a new scene made me giggle. But as silly as it is, it doesn't feel like a guilty pleasure. There's real thought put into the staging of action sequences, both in practical effects and CGI. I think comedy writers and directors should consider this a must-watch. 7 out of 10, although I have a feeling the shorter version might get an 8. Next is Four Lions, recommended by Big Bad Guy 549. In a nutshell, this is a dark comedy about idiot terrorists. It might seem callous or even offensive to make a goofy comedy about terrorism, but I think it brings up something we often forget. Yes, terrorists are evil. Yes, terrorists are irredeemable. But terrorists are also total losers. I appreciate Four Lions more than I actually enjoy it. I like the idea, there are some great moments, and it realistically portrays wannabe behavior. Riz Ahmed is good. Something that sticks out specifically to him more than most actors is his naturalism. However, Four Lions is also a bit drab and dry and slow, and for me at least, not that funny. Not to say I never laughed, almost every scene with projectiles or explosions is hysterical. A debate about a Wookiee is so funny you wish it would go on for 10 minutes. I always associate night vision with something serious and clandestine, so something about watching these dimwits bicker while in night vision, I don't know, just tickles me. This movie is kind of odd because it doesn't play up its comedy or its drama. It mixes both, but doesn't seem interested in reaching any highs whatsoever in its story or its filmmaking. It is decidedly middle of the road. Think of something like Death of Stalin, which turned a horrifying point in history into a farce. No character in Four Lions is as memorable as Zukov. No dramatic scene is as hard-hitting as the final trial. Nothing on camera impressed me like the weaving shots within a detention center that perfectly combined horror and comedy. No line made me laugh as much as someone accused of being a testicle.
How old are you? I'm old. You're not old! You're not even a person! You're a testicle!
I'm not saying it's always fair to compare. I am judging the movie on its own merits. But I'm also just a little frustrated because with such a concept, I wish Four Lions would have gone bigger and bolder. It's not particularly subtle or clever, it's still a silly comedy, just with the dial turned down. So I'm torn. On the one hand, I'm glad the movie isn't tasteless or trying to be edgy. The antics of these would-be terrorists are awkward and feel true to life. Four Lions rings with research, but also comes across as rather purposeless despite the subject matter. I have no doubt that some other people's comedy tastes may be more aligned with this movie's. I would say give it a go. Like I said, I do admire this movie. I was just expecting something a little better. 5 out of 10.
Is get on peacefully with their daily lives, and we support that.
Yeah. A good Muslim always keeps his mouth shut.
Oh, that is...
Yeah? You're surprised kids are going off to training camps?
That is not what I
So
am saying.
why are kids going off to training camps?
Right, well, first off, I object to the term training camps.
You just used it.
No, I did not.
Next up is Murder on the Orient Express, recommended by Misty and Company. This is the 2017 adaptation of the famous Agatha Christie novel about a murder that happens on a train full of mysterious passengers. There are two big issues with this movie, and one of them isn't its fault. The first and more preventable of the two is that the performances are really inconsistent. Penelope Cruz is difficult to take seriously. Daisy Ridley may as well be asleep. But Kenneth Branagh gives a confident performance as this famous character, and also makes it his own, adding a bit more machismo to this eccentric character. Johnny Depp easily slips into this role of the unsavory fraud. The other problem, the one that it can't help, is... Okay, how do I put this? I don't think the story of Murder on the Orient Express makes for a good film. And it's not a problem with Agatha Christie's other work. My favorite adaptation of her work is Death on the Nile. No, not that one with the bloomy CGI and Gal Gadot trying her best to enunciate, the one from 1978. It's full of engaging characters, plenty of intrigue, and uses its location to great effect. Murder on the Orient Express comprises of flat, one-on-one conversations with people unloading their backstories. I didn't find most of these backstories or twists interesting at all. The couple hiding that they're a couple, a scientist faking an accent, a drunk dancer, this all comes across as low stakes and pedestrian. Every time there was a new reveal, my reaction was always,
okay.
The real strength of the film is Kenneth Branagh, not just as the character, but how as a director he tries to make the story work. Camera movement is purposeful. The framing is crisp. I love how he shoots the discovery of the murder. It's a shame that the outdoor scenes look awful. Too clean on the green screen, and the lack of visible breath and flushed faces and even wind half the time only worsens how sterile it looks. I do consider the first act of this film, when everything is being set up, to be strong. Our detective's OCD, his genius, and his physical abilities are all established in a few minutes and with a deft hand. And as we get on the train, it only gets better. Also, props to, well, props. The set designers, everyone who worked on these rooms, for giving us a setting both high class and ominous. I don't know if there's a better way to do this story. Sidney Lumet tried in his version, and I had the same problem. At the very least, this version gave me 2 highly engaging performances and made me want to ride a train again. 6 out of 10.
Some men have a good look. All they have to do is keep their mouth shut, and they can take home any prize they want. Still, the mouth opens.
And last up is Hard Ticket to Hawaii, recommended by BBL. Hard Ticket to Hawaii is known as one of the best B movies ever made. A cornball mix of cops, drugs, and an infected snake. No, really, that's probably the strangest thing here. You're watching this cheesy cop movies / porno, and then a snake comes out of nowhere and attacks someone, and then disappears for like 20 minutes. Why is it here again? When watching this, it can be hard to separate when the film is just trying to have a good time and when it has no idea what it's doing. At one point, the plot is interrupted by a tourism video for Hawaii, and yes, even with lyrics. There's an action scene that is so poorly done it's almost laughable, but also so small scale that it's not. In almost every scene, you get the sense that the actors are waiting for their turn to speak, and they always say them a couple seconds late. We get a real Quentin Tarantino in Django Unchained moment, when the director figures, hey, I can play this part, and no, you can't.
Charlotte, I'm not just some fast-talking New York television director. I care for you a great deal. Trust me, Charlotte.
You practically raped me last night.
That was last night, Charlotte. This is today.
I'm not sure what to even say about this movie. The experience is a suntanned blur of khaki shorts, nudity, synthesizers, and actors who look more blitzed than Rachel Sennett during the Oscar nominations. And just to be clear, I wouldn't want this to be some wink-wink, nudge-nudge, self-aware meta movie, but I also think when it is trying to play it straight, like it's a real cop movie, it sucks. It's boring, it's dumb, it's plotting, you're not enjoying it. But then it almost all becomes worth it when you get to this moment at 45 minutes. incredible. Either give me more of a chillaxing, relaxing beach vibe like Jackie Brown, or something cataclysmic. As it stands, this is an R-rated Baywatch, and for over an hour, it can be a struggle. I'll conclude this by saying it's the kind of movie that needs 2 ratings. As a film, a story, a piece of art, this is garbage. But it didn't infuriate me like Justice League or Madam Web. And rating it as a so bad it's good rental, I think you will have fun, although honestly, the over-the-top ridiculousness isn't as prevalent as you may want. But it is still bright and cheesy and a pretty funny time capsule to the 1980s. With all of that said, I'm gonna give this a 3 out of 10. It's very bad, but not quite bad enough to be epic. Grab some beer and watch with friends, just not with family. Well, that's it for some films I was forced to watch. What movie would you toss into the mix? Be sure to check out the Discord for updates on future live streams, as well as the Patreon for some fun rewards. Thank you for commenting, subscribing, all of the support, and as always, thanks for watching.